Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, watching this broadcast from the British Democrats. And with me this evening is Jim Lewthwaite, Chairman of the British Democrats. Jim, today we've had a very successful inaugural meeting of the British Democrats here in Rainham. How do you think it went?
I think it went extremely well, and obviously I'm extremely grateful to Stephen Porter, the new branch organiser, for setting up the facilities for the inaugural meeting. It's always a pleasure, obviously, to go to any meeting, but an inaugural meeting means we're making a step forward.
Yes, it does. And, of course, this is a meeting that is taking place that's in another part of Kent, where usually the meetings have been taking place in my neck of the woods, which is in Maidstone. And so it's fantastic to see the name and the reach of the British Democrats beginning to widen in another part of Kent. And of course, this will be the first of many here in this part of this county. There's also an issue of the digital ID cards. And what is your thoughts on that? Because, of course, it could be argued that it will be leading to a social credit system just like in communist China. What's your thoughts?
I think that's a much more likely explanation for why Starmer's going down this route. I can't really improve on the statement made by Dr Renee Hunderkamp on Saturday 5 the other day on GB News. She was very succinct in summing the whole situation up. The first thing is the smoke and mirrors about immigration. It has absolutely nothing to do with controlling immigration. Greece has ID cards, and that hasn't stopped immigration. The people who would be expected to show... The people who would be expected to vet the ID cards, the dodgy employers and sweatshops in Leicester, for instance, they're the last people in the world to comply with these regulations. The very people that are most supposedly at risk of being banned from working or from employing people under the ID system are those who are going to evade it. It's the honest people, the innocent people, who are going to find that they are under the neck of the state. We are giving away fundamental freedoms, which have been a feature of British life, that the state does not control the individual's life. And we're giving that up under the illusion that we're helping all of our fellow Britons to live a healthier and more prosperous life. But actually, it's simply the extension of state control. As you say, this is a step towards a social credit system, as in communist China, where you're only permitted to work. Starmer said very ominously the other day, no ID card, no work. And the purpose of that is not to weed out illegal immigrants, but to weed out people who think the wrong thoughts in an Orwellian nightmare state, which is coming down the road towards us. And if people are too stupid to see that, well, they're giving away freedoms which their ancestors have fought for nothing. So that's what we have to say. The British Democrats say, absolutely, we oppose this measure. It is nothing more than an extension of state control. It should be resisted by all means. We should not comply with it.
You'll end up seeing more Lucy Connollys, and as you say quite rightly, I think it will be like a boa constrictor, a political boa constrictor, tightening its grip around the populace until basically they can no longer breathe.
Absolutely. And that is why, if combined with the introduction of digital currency, they can not only stop you from working, but stop you even accessing the very funds you've got in your bank. Look at what happened to the Canadian truckers during COVID, yes. When their assets were seized by the government. If you've got cash in your pocket, it's something they can't directly seize, though I wouldn't put it past this government to try to. But the trouble is, you've not only got to think in terms of this government, but all future governments. You are basically giving away freedoms which you'll never, ever be able to get back again. And even if this state is as bad as you can imagine it, there may be worse states coming down the road, which we can't even foresee, which will use these draconian powers much more severely than anything we can imagine now.
If they are able to get away with implementing something like that, then it's a break of the Rousseau social contract, where we give up rights in turn for being protected by the state. But when the state turns nefarious and basically wants to commit harms upon its populace, it no longer becomes a social contract, more like a social noose.
Absolutely. I'm glad you brought in Jean-Jacques Rousseau, but of course there are other thinkers. All the liberal thinkers of the English tradition, the John Stuart Mills, the Jeremy Benthams, all the way back to John Locke, would have vigorously resisted this. They'd have seen it for what it is, an attempt, a Hobbesian attempt, if you like, to extend the power of the state, the Leviathan, over the individual. They'd have said, this is not the English way of doing things. This is not the British way.
No. Basically, to me, it's another twist of the knife, if you like, of cultural Marxism, and this is where it's ultimately leading to. Basically, the nation becomes a prison camp.
Absolutely. Yes, it's derived from people like Lukács and Gramsci. It's very interesting they're called cultural Marxists, because really they're cultural Hegelians. Marx argued that if you changed the economy, that the rest of society would follow. They realized in the 30s and onwards, people like Antonio Gramsci, that actually it's the other way around. You change people's thinking and then the economy follows. And that's what they've been doing, is tinkering with the social fabric. The worst of all, of course, was Trotsky, who said we must destroy the family. The family is the basic building block of society. If we can get between parents and children, if we can break the continuity of tradition, if we can make children the property of the state and bring them up in the state's way of thinking and separate them from their parental traditions and culture, then we've won. And that is what they're driving towards. It's no accident it was Tony Blair that came up with the idea of ID cards, and he's been pressing it ever since. Yeah. The same Tony Blair that was happy to bring millions of people into the country to be new Labour voters, because he'd basically given up on the indigenous working class. He regarded them as his enemy, to be conquered and humiliated and ground down by every means possible, of which the ID card is symbolic.
Yeah. And it's something that, as patriots and Democrats, the British Democrats will utterly, absolutely oppose.
Yes, the name on the tin gives it away. We are Democrats. The socialists are anti-democratic. The more they accuse us of being dictatorial in nature, the more we have to point back at them and say, in that case, why do you oppose us? Because we stand for democracy. We stand for elections. We do not use violence to achieve our aims, as Antifa does.
That's absolutely correct. And with that, I'd like to say thank you to Jim for sharing this moment to air our thoughts on ID cards. And thank you, and we'll catch up soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lawrence.